So we've got the election coming up. The primary is June 28th. The November 8th midterm election could determine who's going to control Congress. And we've got a new district here in central Illinois that Democrats at the State House passed and enacted. And that creates the 13th Congressional District. So that's pretty much a new area, and several names tossing their hats in the ring to vie for their party's nomination. Last half hour, we talked with Nikki Budzinski. She's a Democrat running. Now we're talking with Jesse Reising, a Republican running. He joins us here on the WMAY morning news feed. I'm Greg Bishop, now 740. Jesse, thanks for taking time. Nice to meet you. How are you?
Yeah, great to be with you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Good to hear. Good. And looking forward to covering all of the political back and forth that we're going to see over the next few months here. So let's get right into it and tell those who are in the 13th Congressional District, which goes all the way down to Metro East area, includes Springfield, Decatur, Champaign, parts of Edwardsville, an interesting district drawn out. And you're a Republican running for this district. Tell us where you come from and why you're the candidate that should take that seat in Congress.
Yeah, so, I'm running for Congress because the political insiders in Illinois and Washington are failing us, and we need new leadership. I'm a sixth-generation son of Decatur, grew up in the public school system there, had an incredible opportunity to play football at Yale University. Have felt incredibly grateful for everything this country has to offer ever since then. I've been trying to serve our great country in the most meaningful ways possible. That initially led me to Marine Corps Officer Candidate School. And then, unfortunately, I suffered a serious neck injury that ended my Marine Corps dream. So I had to find other ways to serve. I went to Afghanistan as a civilian anyways, where I'd been planning to go as a Marine. Started the Warrior Scholar Project, which is an organization that has helped thousands of veterans transition from the military to college, and also served our great country as a federal criminal prosecutor. And then you mentioned the makeup of the district here, and I saw how the Illinois Democrat machine had gerrymandered this district not only to favor their Democratic candidate, but in particular to favor their hand-selected candidate that they were going to fly in from D.C. to essentially rule over us rather than to serve and to represent us. So, I knew I had to stand up for our central and southern Illinois values. On top of that, we're facing soaring inflation, skyrocketing crime rates. Our children are being indoctrinated to believe that the American flag stands for hate rather than freedom. And, President Biden has been projecting weakness on the global stage that is now emboldening some of our adversaries like China and Russia. So, I'm running for Congress to, restore those first principles that made America great in the first place. And those are the first principles of limited government, free enterprise, individual responsibility, and opportunity for all.
Jesse Reising joining us. He is a Republican vying for the 13th Congressional District here in Illinois, a district that will be new for the upcoming Congress after November. So if you get the seat, you'll be seated in January. And of course, we have yet to see exactly how the makeup's going to be for Congress. But right now, Democrats have the majority in the U.S. House. It's 50-50 in the U.S. Senate. This district you already mentioned seems to have been drawn to capture a lot of urban areas all throughout central Illinois. Is a Republican able to capture those votes? And if so, how?
Yeah, absolutely. So it is. The district is drawn to favor a Democrat, but it's not so deeply blue that a Republican can't win it as a matter of math. And then you think about what Glenn Youngkin did in Virginia. He overcame a similar margin of about 11 points, which is roughly equal to the margin we see here in this district, by just speaking to those issues that everyday Americans care about, and those kitchen table issues. And what we're seeing in this cycle, I think, is the inflation that's eating away at Americans' earning power, and real wages are actually down. We're seeing amid these shameful defund the police calls across the country, skyrocketing crime rates, and these are issues that affect people regardless of whether they're Democrat or Republican. And I think those are the issues that are going to lead to victory for the Republican candidate in November, and I hope that'll be me.
Jesse, obviously, we've got a lot of division in the country. And how do you anticipate bridging that divide throughout the election cycle? And if you were to get into office and head over to Washington, D.C.?
Yeah, so I'm a lifelong Republican, but I'm also someone who has worked across partisan lines to get things done. As I mentioned, I initially had planned on serving our country as a Marine, and circumstances, changed my fate, and I had to find other ways to serve. And in particular, I've been serving veterans through the Warrior Scholar Project, and that is an important bipartisan issue that I believe I could count on working with my colleagues across the aisle on.
Jesse Reising with us on the WMAY morning news feed at 7:44. I'm Greg Bishop, and Jesse, we've got an issue that Illinois has experienced over the past 8 years: continued population decline. How would you, as a member of Congress, in a way, put pressure on Illinois policymakers, or do something in Congress that can help reverse the trend, if that's even possible? What should the state do to reverse some of the problems with outbound migration?
Yeah, as I mentioned, my family's been in Decatur for 6 generations, and it's where I was born and raised. And Decatur's the epicenter of that, and has lost a lot of population over the past 4 decades, in large part because the establishment insiders have ignored the people of Central and Southern Illinois for decades now. I think under the Trump administration, we saw, the people of Central Illinois get a little more attention than they previously had, and a strengthening economy. And we saw some manufacturing jobs come back. So I think it really starts with the economy, and making sure that we're advancing the values of the people of Central and Southern Illinois, rather than these progressive ideologies that are coming out of Washington D.C., and imposing those values on the people. But if we get the government out of our lives and allow the small businesses to operate in this state, then they'll create the jobs, and the people will come, and the people will stay.
There's an interesting litmus test that some media focus a lot on when it comes to Republican and Democrat politics, and in particular with Republicans. The question always seems to be, what's your stance on former President Trump? Well, what about the January 6th issue? These are going to be questions that are raised, I think, to any Republican. So, what's your response to some of those questions that may come up during this campaign?
Yeah, I think there's no question that Trump's policies did some real good for the people of Central and Southern Illinois. In particular, his economic policies created really the strongest economy we've seen in this country. I don't know in the Midwest if we always talk in exactly the same ways as Donald Trump, but when you look at what his policies did for the people here, I think they did some really good things. And you mentioned, January 6th. I'm a former federal prosecutor. I stand for the rule of law, and those who committed serious crimes, violence and otherwise, should face the consequences in a court of law, and have their due process. But really, what I'm focused on is the kitchen table issues that the people of Central and Southern Illinois care about, and that's the fact that their real wages are now down. They're actually poorer than they were at the beginning of the Biden administration, and these defund the police efforts and the skyrocketing crime rates threaten the safety of our communities. And then also on the educational front, I think folks are concerned about what their kids are learning in schools, and they want to be involved in their kids' education and see what they're learning. And we should make sure that the parents have the ability to see what their children are learning, so they can make sure that they're not being exposed to some of these harmful ideologies that would suggest that they're either a victim or an oppressor, that disempowers them as Americans, and makes them stop believing in the promise of this great country.
Jesse Reising, a Republican vying for the party's nomination for the 13th Congressional District. The primary's June 28th. You've got the midterm general election November 8th. For people who are interested in finding out more about you and your candidacy, where can they find it?
Yeah, you can check us out at jessereising.com. That's spelled JESSEREISING.com.
JesseReising.com. Again, the spelling is Reising. Jesse, thank you so much for taking time. I think we're going to be talking more in the weeks and months ahead as we get closer to the June primary. All right, be safe out there.
Absolutely. Really appreciate it. Thanks so much.
It is the WMAY morning news feed now, 7:48.